Hello there, travelers, and welcome to the stream. My name is Mike D'Angelo. We're going to be working on some maps today. We're kind of going to be closing out some of the stuff that we've done before. We started to look at the stuff that I was doing in the Forgotten Keep. We're going to be finishing that up to make sure that this can go out. I think it's next week, because this week is going to be the Jungle Fighting Ring. Next week is going to be this, the west wing of the Forgotten Keep. And then the week after that, we're going to be doing a sequel to my map, The Summoning. That's going to be kind of like a tower defense looking sort of map, because you're going to have like a carving in the area and some places where you could kind of post up and shoot down at monsters or enemies or anything like that from kind of higher up. But we'll get to that probably tomorrow. I had a request come through to kind of take a step outside of what things look like in the actual map itself and look a little bit more at the planning phase. We're going to be doing... Well, hello there, G. D'Angelo 13. Thank you very much, Jill. I appreciate it. Yeah, tomorrow what we're going to do, because of a request from my brother, we're going to take a look at how you do the sequel maps, how you kind of put that together to make sure that it matches up the right way. That's going to be an interesting map to do as well, because a lot of the maps that you work on in Inkarnate, the texture types that you're working with, they don't exactly give you the opportunity to... I shouldn't say they don't give you the opportunity. They don't give you the necessity to do like offsets and things like that. But with the texture that I'm using for the Summoning and its sequel map, there's some things that you kind of have to be aware of. So tomorrow, if you're looking for that, if you're looking for what it looks like to do a map from, not from scratch necessarily, but with a planning phase, we'll take a look at that. I'll kind of recreate the image that I did for my prep phase, and then we'll show you how to do that going forward. But for now, we're going to wrap up what we did so far with the Forgotten Keep. We're going to take a real quick peek. Last week, we were showing you the paintings. So as I mentioned, this is going to be all over the place again. I'm going to use my pen. It should let me move around a little bit easier than the mouse. So one of the things that we talked about last week was Inkarnate doesn't really give you the means to create paintings in the interface that it has. There's not any paintings that are already built in. So what I did was I broke the stamps and put them all together so that I was able to do the things that I wanted to. So not anything too crazy here. I'm going to probably zhuzh up this room a little bit just so that it's not just 3 paintings hanging around. There might be like some old sketches and stuff like that on the ground, some things scattered about. I also didn't want this corridor to be a doorway. I felt like we had too many doors, so I wanted to change that up. This down here is a secret door, so you're not going to have a regular door here either. But up here, I didn't want any door, I didn't want any wall. I wanted it to be a situation where if the players were exploring and they were using, investigation checks and things like that, they'd see like this bookshelf over here maybe looked a little off. We might even add some shadowing under that so that it looks even on the map like, hey, this is something worth paying attention to. The GM could come out and say, hey, there's something a little different about this area. But I did want to show a little bit more about the paintings. One of the things that kind of gives me the benefit working outside of Inkarnate was this is all one image now. Previously, when I used the scraping map where I was kind of piecing things together, you can do that same process inside any map. You can just mess with your layers, choose what pieces of the various stamp sets make the most sense for your paintings. But what ended up causing a little bit of trouble was it's a little bit more difficult to kind of size them up together because they kind of move around. Since they are different layers within the same image, they don't move around as friendly as you might want them to. So being able to export this to the stamp layer and then use like a scraping Photoshop tool kind of made it easier for me. So you see, I kind of size these up all the same way. They're kind of at this point leaning against the wall. They're not, just straight up laying on the floor like it would look if they hadn't been kind of placed that way. So previously you had seen I had 2 paintings already put together. We had the the bat on top of the moon, which is just, you know, a white golden coin and a bunch of snow that looks like stars. Over here, I picked a lot of children's toys. So we've got the 2 dolls, a rocking horse, and behind the rocking horse, now that it's been kind of shrunk down a little bit, you don't see it as well, but there was a seagull that was, it looked a lot like a path leading up to this castle. And I had mentioned last time that I was going to put together a map just to see what that looked like. So I took one of the maps that I made in Inkarnate for a region, one of my continents. When I was playing this session with my party, it kind of ended up being a get-together session that brought the party together, introduced a lot of the mechanics of the game because none of us had played D&D before, and it also kind of stood as a precursor to where they were going to go next. So there was a character who led them into, you know, the next big set of their adventure where, you know, they knew that they were kind of chosen to fulfill a role. And what I decided to do for Inkarnate here is I put a map that designated the area, the continent that they ended up in Tellust. So I felt like that kind of fit in pretty nice there. I had also toyed at one point within this map also putting the map of the city that they go to, but I figured that was a little too on the nose. If I was going to do something like that, I might throw that in somewhere else in the dungeon, because this is a huge dungeon. We see 3 floors here, but it's just the west wing, and there's a northeast and south wing, so I want to make sure that there's room for other cool stuff later. So we're going to do some of the easy stuff right now, and that means that we're just going to grab things like the walls, finish them up. And then I think the thing that I want to do most is there's a couple of places on this map. Let's see if I can grab this darn thing. There's a couple of places on this map that I want to just kind of freehand draw and see what I can do to kind of bring a little bit of life to some of these areas. We've got the blood symbols, which is really, it's supposed to be kind of like a dichotomy with the paintings over here. You've got some relatively well put together paintings, and over here I just want just utter madness. I want something to show up over here that makes it look like something definitely wonky has been going on. Someone back here has lost their mind, and I feel like having those kind of side by side is going to end up making it look really nice. But I do want the walls themselves to look pretty even, so we'll grab everything all at once. Move everything down here to copy it, and let's grab 2 more double walls, throw that in there. I think at that point our walls are all put together. The other place that I'm going to freehand draw and just kind of see what I can pull off is, so the whisper wall is kind of like a communication puzzle that you give to your players. It's an idea about showing them how to communicate in ways that aren't, you know, specifically speech related. So the idea is that someone's going to be on one side of the wall, someone's going to be on the other side of the wall, and they have to find a way to communicate, you know, something that's on the wall. Typically it'll be something like symbols. They have to push them both at the same time, or they're looking to do some kind of, I don't know, math equation or something like that. So what I might do is, you're not going to be able to see the wall itself, you know, because of the way that the overhead view looks, but you might be able to do some kind of like subtle glow on the floor or something like that. So we'll try and play with that. One of the things that I don't like to do too often is if a puzzle can be abstract, and that is the GM can decide on their own what direction they want to take things. I like it when they can. Certain puzzles, like the one that I was kind of alluding to last week, which is that water puzzle, you're not going to really be able to do things that are too crazy with that. A lot of the puzzles that I take are kind of inspired by, you know, like puzzle games on the Switch or the DS or things like that. Professor Layton is a great place to get ideas like that. Yeah, just simple stuff like that. But enough rambling. Let me save this just because I don't want to lose any of the work that I just did. It's not a lot of work, but I feel like I've been rambling enough for it to feel like a lot of work. Alrighty. So what we'll do is we're going to go to the brush tool, and instead of doing a texture here, we're going to go to the colors. And again, I want the glyphs to be kind of a magical kind of color. So we're going to grab something like that. We're going to size it down significantly. And we are going to mess with the opacity. I'm going to try and set the opacity low to begin with. And we're going to see glyphs on both sides of this wall. So what we're going to do is something like this. In a couple of places, we're going to go over more than once. So it looks like some of the glyphs are brighter or higher than the others. And we might change, maybe one side of the wall has one color and the other side has another color. So we've got that. And let's change it to kind of like this cyan color here. And what we're going to do is it's going to be in different spots too. I don't want it to be identical to the other side. We'll have one overlap here and maybe right here. So again, nothing too crazy. There's I don't want it to be jumping out at the players. I want the GM to be able to describe it without it being to anybody's face. So we'll do something like that there. And then what we'll do is we'll come up here to the blood symbols room. I'm going to actually look at textures real quick just to see if there is something that has like a blood look to it. And I feel like the Gothic horror blood here is going to be a little too Gothic horror. So we're not going to do that. We're going to do some crimson red in the brush colors here. Let's try and see if there's anything that I like. I feel like something like that. Again, we're going to mess with the opacity. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to keep you on it. I'm hoping not to take too long here. I'm going to look at one of the artists that I work with. He'll give me lots of great treasure items, and sometimes on those treasure items we have some cool glyphs and runes and stuff like that. I'm going to try and see if I can steal one of those real quick. So let's see if we have a scroll of astral projection, and I don't think that that's what somebody's writing in the symbol here, but maybe we could steal some of these runes. So let me show you what I'm doing. And you can take inspiration from anywhere, but this is basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some of these ideas and kind of scribe them onto the floor. So I'm going to move this back off the screen, and I'm just going to kind of look at my other monitor while I'm drawing this. So we're going to zoom that in. And let's see. I don't want it to be too, number one, you're not going to have to worry about things being too refined or anything like that, because I am not a good artist myself. I can do stuff with cool tool sets and things like that, but as far as freehand drawing or having the patience to do anything really cool, that's not me. But what we're going to do is just take some of those symbols and kind of try and recreate them. So I've got kind of like an equilateral triangle here. Again, artistry is not one of my talents. I need to borrow from the skills of other people. Make this circle a little bit bloodier. A little bit more of the triangle there. And we're going to do some of these other symbols. So, in different places. You know what, we're going to mess with the opacity a little bit more because I didn't like the triangle there. I'll use the pen. For some reason my mouse doesn't like to play as well as the Wacom pen. So we're gonna 45 is good, and we're actually gonna mess with the size a little bit. That's a big amount of blood there for the circle triangle symbols, but for the actual runes, I'm gonna have them be something much smaller. I still don't like the opacity, so we're gonna bump that up a little bit more. And that's too much. So we'll take that all away and do it from scratch. That's not bad. You know what? That kind of looks like it just says the word sex. We're going to pick some other runes. different kind of H there. Got some upside down 5s and stuff. I feel like half the time when I'm seeing runes, I don't know whether they're Hebrew or Nordic or anything like that, and I kind of worry about stealing stuff. But I mean, my artist was the one who did this, so it's mine anyway. Let's see, we've got something like that. It actually looks like this person's not doing art, he's just doing the freaking equation. He's trying to find, the last digit of pi. Something like that. Let's see. Trying to calculate the hypotenuse. Yeah, I might play around a little bit with this afterwards to try and see if there's a better way that I can do something like that. I'm not a huge fan of what I did there. And that's fine. You're never going to have, 100% in 5 minutes. So I'll try and figure out a way that feels a little bit more my style. And maybe what we'll do is on top of the blood symbols, we'll put like a body so you can see like where the blood came from. So in fact, let's do that. Let's make it feel like the work that we did there wasn't a total waste. So again, we've got some stuff in Gothic horror. We've got like people under blankets and body bags and stuff. I don't know if I like that. And desiccated bodies, you're not going to have any blood. So let's see. I could see using like covered bodies and body bags and stuff along those lines in a situation where you're doing like a hey, we just recovered the body kind of situation, or in the covered body sort of situation, hey, we're doing like a murder mystery or something. The detective showed up, covered the body. That's where to go for a little bit of evidence, like, hey, can we see what the wound was so we can figure out what the weapon was, that kind of thing. But body clearly isn't working here. Let's we'll go into the entire stamp set and see if anything speaks to us a little better. I don't want to go the doll route again. I feel like that's not the way to go. They lose a little bit of detail when you zoom them up a little bit. So like if I'm looking at the dolls, you can see stuff like that. I feel like, here we go. So we've got Ophelia, which we might be able to use. I feel like that might be a little too on the nose, but dead bodies I feel like we can use. So maybe we have, I might have to zoom these in a little bit to see a little bit better. This corpse right here, kind of bare bones. You don't have to go too crazy about it. So we can throw this guy in here. Maybe he was crawling towards the other room before he just didn't make it. So let's see. It could have been that the color that I chose was partially to explain why I didn't like the blood. I feel like that's okay. That doesn't look too bad. Let's try and fill this in again. See if we like it anymore when it's a little brighter. I don't know. It doesn't quite feel like the right color of blood. Yeah, I'm not sure I like it. I am going to let's go and get our textures again. I'm going to take this away for now. And I'll clean that up later. I'll try and figure out a better way to do what I want to do there. All right, let's take a step back. One of the other things that I know I want to do on this map is the room after the Whisper Wall opens up. There's supposed to be treasure. The treasure is kind of a misdirect because you're not supposed to do anything too crazy with the treasure. The treasure is a red herring. What you really need to do is figure out where to get the key to get to this door, and whoever comes out of this room is the one that has the key. So the idea is that this trap is kind of like an Indiana Jones trap. So you've got a pedestal with a small lockbox or something on it, and when you displace it, at that point the this wall opens up, and whatever enemies show up out of this room, one of them's got a key. In theory, if your party is smart enough to be able to figure out that it's an Indiana Jones puzzle, you can also give them a bonus when it comes to looking for secrets around the room, so they might be able to find the trap and kind of disarm it and open it up quietly and get the jump on whoever's in here. So we did a pedestal on the second, or on the first floor rather. Let's see if there's a pedestal that we like that. Let's see. We did a pillar, not a pedestal. And we're going to try and kind of recreate what we have here. So we've got wall pillars. I feel like that might be able to do what we want. I don't want it to be straight up gold looking, so we might change the color of it a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's a good place to start. So that's supposed to be sandstone. Again, to me, it kind of looks gold. So what we're going to do is change this so it kind of faces that way. I want it to almost look like, kind of like an altar. So make it like that. And I don't think that doesn't feel like it sits too tall for me. So I'm happy with the way that looks. We are going to change the color because, again, I didn't want that gold color. So let me see if I can change it to more of like a copper color. Yeah, let's see. Do I like any of these? I'm probably going to have to mess. That actually isn't too bad. I just have to mess with the saturation a little bit. You know what? The saturation's probably fine. It's the brightness that I have to change. And maybe the saturation. I don't usually mess with the contrast too much. I feel like it doesn't do what I need it to do. So we'll bring that back to 100. That's good for now, and then let's find something that operates as a lockbox. So we'll do box. Got puzzle boxes, which doesn't really do what I want it to do. Let's see, we've got trinket boxes. If I've got... See, it's a shame. This one's like the right size. Let's do chests. Maybe there's a chest that I can use. I actually don't mind this gothic horror one. Yeah, the other ones kind of look a little too big, but I feel like I could size this down and it wouldn't completely lose the look that I'm going for. And we don't have to go with a treasure chest either. We could go for something like an idol or something like that. Actually, now that I think about it, that kind of looks like it blends in too much, so it doesn't really tell the story that I want it to. So yeah, let's go in here. We'll try and see if there's like a trophy or something else that we can use. So we've got these trophies that kind of come out of the wall that doesn't really do what I want it to do. These are, you know, your trophy dragon heads and deer heads and stuff like that. Not quite what I'm trying to do. Let's see. Maybe there's something in the castle that we can use. So much of what you're going to do in Inkarnate is just poke around until you find what you're looking for. And that's perfectly fine. You don't have to go crazy about these kind of things. Eventually you'll find something that you like. We might even go, if I can't find anything better, we might go like a potion or something like that. Let's see what else we got. Something like this, actually, like a fake sarcophagus, like a small, you know, kind of looks like an idol. I wonder if there's an idol in here that I could use. Nope. Let's see if treasure. We can use a tag treasure and see if anything pops out here. Let's see. See, the problem with the goblets is they look like they're falling on the side, and I don't necessarily want to go that route. Crowns, they're the kind of same kind of problem I'm having there. We've got a mirror and brush set. Doesn't do what I want it to do there. Yeah, let's do... We'll do a goblet like this, because it kind of tells... I zoom that in a little bit. And kind of just turn that to the side, look like it's laying on the side. And that way, if the GM really wants to play dirty with the players, they can make it so they don't even have to pick it up. If they like think about picking it up and don't, maybe you could have like a noise in the opposite room, and you can make them do like a some kind of check. And if they fail the check, they bump into this. It knocks it off the pedestal, and the pedestal activates. Something like that. That's actually a kind of cool idea that you could roll with if you needed to. In here, let's see. If we were going to use this room as like a real room for people in the castle, what would they use it for? Well, good chance that, you know, right now we're using them as, we're calling it the poor unfortunate souls. So we're kind of giving the idea that something's gone wrong here. You know, the people who are in this room, they're not there by choice, or if they are there by choice, they're not there still by choice. They went into this room and they never found a way to get out. So if that was the case, if that was the route that we were going, and we're trying to say that, you know, this room was someplace that someone went to on their own regard, and the trap exists here, and the idea is that when the trap is set off, this door opens, maybe the idea is if the castle was ever, you know, attacked, if it was ever taken over, the idea would be that some guards would be able to come in here, hide, and bust out at the last second. You know, they have an opportunity to, while the, you know, pillagers are distracted, they could come out and surprise attack them. So if that's the case, let's try and see if there's some stuff that we can put in here that a guard would have, or at least have access to. They don't need to have like equipment or anything in here. There's not too many times where you're going to want to just throw tons and tons and tons of goodies at your players. A castle logically is going to have a lot of those things, but when you're trying to put together a campaign for somebody, you don't want every single thing to be a pickup item. I mean, you could. I'm not going to tell you how to run your campaign. You might want it to be a situation where it's like Skyrim and you can pick up every little thing that you find. That's not what I'm going for on this map, so I'm going to be a little light-handed with certain things. But first we got to figure out what speaks to us. So we'll look in the castle set again. There's no throne, but maybe a couch. We want this to be comfortable for if it's a panic room for someone important. I think I have 2 of them in there now. We want them to be able to relax. This is a castle, it's not a hut or anything like that, so a lavish couch is not the worst thing to put into place. So we'll put that over here, maybe put together a table. We'll have some food stuff that might have gone rotten. You know what? Since we are, again, calling it a poor unfortunate soul situation, let's make the couch all beat up. We'll put a lot of like broken furniture in here. Now, I don't believe that too much of the direction that I went in when I originally ran this campaign was this. Like, there wasn't, like, undead everywhere. I think I did want to mix things up a little bit, so there was, you know, different people in different wings. Like, one of them was, you know, we had, like, the Beastmaster stuff on the first floor. In one of the wings, we had kind of like mechanical creatures and stuff like that, and I made the bosses of each zone kind of that as well. So it was whatever kind of feeling you had in whatever wing, I made a boss that was built with that kind of thing in mind. We've got these broken tables. I feel like these are desks, oval desks. It doesn't look like there's a table that I can use, but I mean, I feel like if we use this oval desk, here you go, the salon table, perfectly sized. Turn that to the side. Looks like it was knocked around a bit. Even the couch will make it like that was not 100% even. If it was a situation where everything was clean and tidy, I would probably keep it clean and tidy. But I want to kind of give this idea that things were moved around a little bit. So we're going to continue looking for some broken stuff that we can use. We've got these playing cards, so maybe we'll use a couple of these on the table or underneath the table. We'll do this underneath the table. And we'll put these ones on top of the table. Oop. That one goes on top. That one stays below. you're not even going to notice these things. I mean, you and I will notice because we're talking about it right now. Let's see what other broken stuff we can use. We've got torn pillows that we can use. Throw them on top of the couch and over here underneath it. Let's see, what else? I don't want to put a throne. I feel like it's a little preposterous to put a throne somewhere that's not the throne room. But if you were doing an entire session where you were showing everything in the castle was torn to bits, you could do something like that. We'll have an end table over here. We'll say that we had a sconce that was there that fell off the wall. You'll notice that I haven't done any windows in this castle. There is a wing that has more of like a cathedral kind of feel, and we'll put some windows in there. But for now, we're going to kind of leave things where there's not a lot of window treatments or anything like that. We could put them on the first floor and the second floor. Maybe I will do that later. Let's see. I might not end up using this. Just taking a look and seeing how I feel about it. It almost looks like it should be a tapestry, like something hanging off the wall. Yeah, I feel like it doesn't make a lot of sense there. Let's see what else. Yeah, we've got the curtains, which we would use elsewhere. Broken beds, which we're not going to see here. Let's see what we can get from some of the other spots in the stamp sets. We know that we're going to have some broken bottles. Somebody's been drinking in here. So we'll have some broken bottles here. Another one. We'll actually throw this under the table over here. And I just want some straight up shattered glass that we'll throw. That's way too much glass though. There you go. That's better. Throw that there. Yeah, like that is too much glass. All right, we're going to save for now because we're at 40. I feel like we've got so much stuff over on this side of the room. I want to have something over here. Maybe we'll do another body. We've got corpses. So yeah, we'll say one of the guards did not make it over here. I'm actually going to bring him up to the corpse that we have up here, just so I can size it out right. That actually looks pretty good. Like the other guys just kind of crumpled a little bit. Put this guy down here. We'll actually go back to the brush and we'll color him in underneath. So we'll bring the brush color down again. And I think we were happy around 50 or so. And we'll just do a little bit of blood underneath him. Yeah, I don't want to go too crazy there, so that looks fine. I think I'm pretty satisfied with what we have there. Save it one more time. And I don't want you to just see me thinking and conceptualizing what to do with the blood symbols in that room. So what we'll do is we're actually done with most of the stuff. I'm not going to put any actual sconces up now because you would just see me putting up a lot of sconces and stuff like that. Let's try and put some papers and parchments and stuff like that. Let's see. Pirate maps don't really do what I'm looking for. Okay, diary books. Here we go. So loose paper here is what we could use. And what I just want to do is just piles and piles of paper. So 20 is a good size for that. And what we'll try and do is I'm going to try and figure out if I can put some symbols on here. I just want piles and piles of the stuff. And the cool idea is if it's the same person who did the paintings here that ended up in here and did the blood symbols, you can kind of see a little bit of madness over here as well. You know, there's clearly some reason that he threw away things like this. Now, the idea that I'm going to have to kind of reconcile with is how do I want to... You know, this is loose paper, but you don't see anything drawn on it. Let me think. Let me see if there's any other parchment that has stuff written on it. We've got these music notes. That might not actually be music notes because this one has like other symbols on it. That's a map that we could have used, but I mean it's not my map, so it didn't really make a lot of sense. Yeah, let's use this. It doesn't give you a lot of options or anything, but we could do, you know, on the top. We've got some of that stuff. And I don't want them all facing the same direction. So it kind of gives that idea. I was thinking briefly, yeah, we could go back to the tried and true thing that I do, which is setting this stuff to the background. But I think even if I was here, we'll actually copy this over here, play with it real quick, and see if that notion's something that we can do. So we're going to flatten this to the background, and I'm going to use the color brush one more time. We're just going to shrink this down as far as it can go, and then see if I'm drawing on this with 5 opacity. I mean, a little bit. But the problem is, as soon as well, no, I can't move it anyway. That's the whole idea. That actually might not be a bad plan. But again, I don't know that you want to see me do that for another 10 minutes. So I have the idea, and maybe what we'll do is we'll kind of expand from there. Like I'll do off stream. I'll go in that route and do those kind of things. Man, I mean, there's a lot of potential to see these things here. I feel like when I export it to high definition, that might change. That might look a little bit different. So yeah, I may off stream go in and do those changes. Let me think. I might also try and do a little bit more set dressing as well, because some of this stuff is just a little boring. You've got like one focal point in each of these rooms. And again, the whole idea, like with the natural stuff that I do, is I want there to be 4 points of interest on one of our jumbo maps. And when you're out in the wilderness like that, finding those kind of by happenstance feels kind of earned. But when you're going into a keep, a dungeon, something man-made, it almost feels like every room that you're in should have some kind of function. Sometimes the function might be no function. It's the idea that like you go in there and there's nothing there. What does that mean? But a lot of times it's just, set decoration. It's, kind of like unspoken flavor text, things like that. Clearly here, the text that I've written for myself is supposed to evoke what everything is supposed to do. So we have something for paintings. We know that I'm going to eventually figure out something to do with the blood. Oh, you know what? I wonder if... So I did... what was it? Blood. I don't think that I looked up symbol. So we've got this hell symbol that I might be able to use. And instead of using it in yellow, I might be able to change that color to red, and it might be able to help me to kind of evoke that, messy blood look. So let's try that real quick. No, I didn't mean to get rid of advanced settings. I meant to go to color. Saturate it, maybe make it a little less. Maybe this is where I mess with the contrast a little bit. I do not know. I'm definitely going to have to play with it a little bit more. This might even be one of those things that I bring it out into Photoshop to get it right. Come on. Yeah, Yeah, not really a lot going on as far as kind of doing what I wanted to do. I feel like I was close here. Maybe the size. Maybe if I change the size of it. It still looks like it kind of takes away instead of gives to it. Well, that's nice. Sometimes it feels like the stamps kind of work on their own volition. You know, I can mess with the blend mode and see if anything speaks to me. That hard light. Ooh, you know what? Difference actually looks really good. That looks like the same color as the blood there to some extent. That might be where I start. And then maybe from there, what I can do, I will save it because I feel like we landed somewhere good. Maybe the idea is whoever killed this poor fella, they were messing with the blood. And they kind of drew lines from his blood, from his corpse over to here. Worst case scenario, it looks like magic kind of called out to his blood and brought it over here. And if we really wanted to go crazy, we could put other bodies in here and maybe make it look like it came from multiple places. But at least I have a good idea. And that color does really blend in well. Let me save that one more time. And we're actually going to step away from this floor for a little bit. So I don't want to lose my mind on here too much. So we'll go to the first floor because we're almost done with that one, I think. That one we did a decent amount of work on. We'll do something simple with this one. So on my spreadsheet document, bear with me for a second when I pick that up. So I had made note of the way that the water puzzle map is supposed to go. So let's see. Dunk. All right. So I don't want to use the same pillars that we have there. So we're going to find some other pillars that work well for us. I feel like we might use the Elven one. The Elven one feels like it's kind of evoking what I want it to. So the idea for the cleaning the water puzzle is you've got an aqueduct over here that's kind of messy, and then you've got an aqueduct over here that's going to be clean. The idea is that you have to transport the clean water from up here down into this one down here. There's going to be like a repository for the water to flow from. And the idea is that the pillars are responsible for making that happen. So right now on my map, you can see I don't have anything placed. But the way that it's supposed to go, you're going to eventually have your players move the pillar from here up to here. From here up to here. We're going to clean this up. From here up to here. And from here down to here. The idea is, we'll just draw on the map real quick so you can see like kind of the concept where it's supposed to, what it's supposed to evoke. So you're building an aqueduct. You don't realize it at first, but there's items in the pillars that extend and kind of produce an aqueduct for the water to travel to. So if your pillar's here, this isn't going to do what you need it to do. But if you move your pillar here, then you've got kind of, it collects the water from there, delivers the water over here, collects the water from here, delivers the water down here, keeps on going, then it ends up here, and then it makes its way into here, and then this gross water ends up being healing water. It gives your players a place to, kind of get like a bonus throughout the dungeon. You could give it, a situation where they can only come there, once a day. It takes a little while for the water to restore itself. But it kind of breaks up the monotony of battle after battle after battle, especially because this floor is a lot of battles. There's a lot of beasts and things like that. You're basically like showing them how to strategize in this floor, things to that nature. The puzzle gives people a different kind of reward that you wouldn't really see compared to a lot of the things that you've done so far. It gives people who like puzzles over combat the ability to kind of learn something new and see that you're building your game with a bit of a dynamic to it. There's certainly, game masters who their only focus that they want is on revealing little secrets after every battle, and that's perfectly fine. But if you want to kind of give your players a well-rounded experience, you've got your role-playing opportunities, you've got your combat experiences, you've got your puzzles, you've got these big reveals. This is one of the cool ways that you can do it. And part of what I did in this first session was I built a puzzle into each of the wings. The water wing felt like the most it felt like the one that was most deserved as you're getting used to the game. If somebody needed to come back here and heal themselves after a particularly tough battle. And certainly the boss that you see in this wing isn't the hardest boss, it's not a real boss or anything, but hello to Wendy. But you do have the opportunity here to, after what feels like your first real boss, if you are using the Forgotten Keep to do that kind of thing, this is a nice little tiny reward. So I am going to clean those things up. We'll just Control-Z the crap out of all this stuff. Are Jackson and Tyler nearby or no? Let's go back to that pillar real quick. So again, I did like this pillar. It looks like those side pieces could kind of expand. Well, hello to Jackson and Tyler anyway. They can listen to the YouTube video later. So I am going to place these where they would start, not where they would end. I might end up giving like a variant where the dungeon master would be able to make that correction on their own. So you'd be able to say, like, all right, you put these in place, now everything's where it needs to go. And I'm trying to do like a nice little basin here. Like, I don't want it to just look like 3 water tiles. So let's... Hello, Tyler. We're going to... Let's see some walls and see if any of these walls do the right thing. I don't want something from the desert that doesn't have the right feel. Thank you, Tyler. Let's see, what do these Triforium walls look like? Besides Jehugic. You know what I might do? So just because everything else is a tile like that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to keep it like that. So what I might do, we'll clean up that a bit. Have this go into the wall. That actually looks nice. And what we'll do is this won't be completely squared off like that. Let's see, does that look all right? I feel like I've got a little bit more room to do some stuff there. And then we'll just copy these and flip them horizontally. Oops. Missed some of that. And let's move that a smidge over to the side so we don't look like we're losing any of that there. And grab that. All right, so that's perfect. But I do want to make sure that those show up underneath the other walls. Let's see. I might have to lower the layers of the other ones in order to get that feel. All right, I feel like that looks nice. And then what I'm going to do is go back to my textures that I've been using. And part of the problem I think that we're going to run into, yeah, that's a lighter color there. So we're going to do, it's fine. I think, yeah, that's foreground anyway. So just do that. Perfect. So that gives you kind of like a basin feel. We're going to figure out how to, put something here that looks like it's going to feed into that basin, because the basin should look a little lower. Take the same idea that we have there and move it up there so that you can see, as if you're playing this level, you see that symmetry and you kind of figure, all right, I understand to some extent what's going on here. So we'll go to texture one more time. We want this to be a nice clean watercolor. So we've got the foreground still. And there you go. That looks a little bit more refreshing. I'm tempted to put a fish in there, but that doesn't tell the story I want to. All right, perfect. All right, so we'll save there. I think that we're getting a little bit of shadow off of these, and that kind of helps too, because that means that it's just not on the floor. You're not going to have your players stepping in there or anything. If there's not a shadow, that's maybe an idea to play with. So it's on the layer. Let's see. Do I like that or do I not like that? Matt, do I like that or not? I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it. So that's the object layer. That's the, it follows all the shadow of everything else. I feel like the difference is like the distance to which they cast the shadow, and I'm not sure where I like it more. All right, I'm going to assume Matt is busy. We'll say he's in a pool right now. So let's put that on the object layer as well. Let me see if that... Yeah, you know what? We're going to leave it as is because it changes the way that that they show on each other. We'll do it all at once. See if anything changes there that I like. No, I definitely don't like it. All right, so we're going to keep it on the layer level. Keep it there like that. Looks good enough. All right, so that piece is done. We saved it before, so we don't need to do anything crazy again. We are coming up on about an hour. So what I'm actually going to do is I'll switch this over to the... I'm going to switch this over to the chat break. I don't think that too many people are on, so I'm not going to break any hearts by not putting my camera on or anything. But we're going to go to chat break. I'm going to turn off my camera because you can see I'm still pouring sweat. It's not as bad today as it has been, but so we'll turn off the visual component on my webcam. You should still be able to hear me. We should still be able to talk. If there's anything over the next couple of minutes that you want to chat about on this map, or anything else, any other questions that you have about what we've been working on, what we're going to be working on next week, what maps have been coming out on the Patreon, things like that, feel free to put them in the chat. You're beautiful, Misery. A beautiful Misery. I feel like we're going to add a couple of things to like the Beast Training Chamber, the Beast Masters Chamber, things like that. But not today. Not as hot as it is in this room. And then tomorrow what we'll do is, assuming Matt, who was the one who asked to see that preparation phase, we're going to be taking a look at... Thank you very much. We're going to be looking at, again, what it looks like to try and do like the preparation phase for a map, how to make sure that you're doing things that line up the right way. We looked at that a little bit before, but we're going to take an even bigger look at it and figure out, the best way to do those kind of things. Alrighty, I am going to prepare to send us to the until next time scene. So, give a little wink at the camera. Or not. And until next time, which is tomorrow, hopefully on time at 7. We'll see what happens. Thank you for joining me for the stream. And don't forget, if you came onto the stream late and you want to check it out a little bit more, you can head to our YouTube channel as well. The Battlemap videos, they go up on Friday at 3 and 5, I believe. So if you ever want to catch up any of our old stuff, that's a good place to look. Talk to you later.